Hi, this is Simon from Fingers on Plastic. In this video I'm going to be talking about Gears 5. I'm going to be talking about the story and lots of spoilers. If you've not finished Gears 5 and you want to know about the story, you want to go through the story and have it hit you as it goes along, which I thoroughly recommend, you don't want to watch this video because I'm going to talk about all of it. Whilst it's all fresh, I've still got lots of thoughts. Because I start work on Wednesday. So I did a few levels the other day, and then I've put like 8 hours or something into it. Crazy today. My eyes are quite tired. Gears 5. So I'm recording this video because none of my friends have finished it yet, and I just want to unload. I've got loads of notes. So we start pretty much where we finished with Gears 4. I can't lie, I thought Gears of War 4 was a bit meh. I was never really bothered by Gears 4. You know, I love Gears. Gears 2 is probably one of my all-time favourite games. And I love 3 and 1 and Judgment. And I have all the comics and I've got all the books. And I had some of the figures as well, which are, the headshot drone, the Locust headshot drone. That was really cool. So I love my Gears. And I wasn't convinced we needed a 4 when it was announced, and then I played it, and it was fun, it's good, but I'm not sure I'd have missed it if it didn't exist. Gears 5, bloody hell. So we start, like I said, pretty much where we left off, and we start with Kate, JD and Del, and Marcus. I love old man Marcus. Marcus is one of my all-time favourite characters, because he's just gruff and he doesn't say much. Anyway, so we start with those 4, and they're in Azura. So they've travelled to Azura to try and find the some satellite codes for the Hammer of Dawn. Because the Hammer of Dawn's gone offline, and they want the Hammer of Dawn back now because the swarm are popping up all over the place. They're getting a little bit antsy, and so they want the Hammer of Dawn to, even the odds a little bit, turn the war back in their favour, because we, poor Sarah, just back to war again. So they have a look around, they find what they want, they launch the missile, and that's pretty cool. That when you launch the missile, you sort of end up in the tube with it, and you're running around as it's going up with the fire, and that's awesome. And yeah, because JD, they don't think they've done it because the roof's stuck, and they're like, oh, it's buggered, we've got to get out of here. And JD and Del run in, and Marcus is like, oh, you're fool. But they get it launched, all's well. They go back to New Ephyra, and we go back to Jin, who's now in charge of the cog. And there's a really good chat with Jin and Marcus, because in Gears 4 I was gutted that Anya not only died off screen, barely got spoken about, and she just had that little sort of hidden cutscene where you go and visit her grave with no explanation. I think what's happened is that she went through the fertility program, and she had JD. JD was awesome, apparently. She loved her JD, and so her Marcus JD must have been happy for a number of years, and then she must have decided to try it again, and unfortunately I think it killed her. But I've got something in my head tells me that Jin did something. I think Jin, I don't know what she did, but she when Anya went through the procedure, whatever it is that helps them get pregnant, I reckon Jin did something that killed Anya so she could take control of the cog. I think Jin is a super bad guy, and I don't like her. But that's just my theory, it may be rubbish. But yeah, so Anya's dead, and so one thing about Gears is if you've got the subtitles on during the cutscenes, it will tell you what's going. So it will say, it'll have all the speech, and then it will say music rises, and indistinguishable grunt and things like that. So it really highlighted it. I thought it was fantastic. So they all meet up again with Jin, and Jin basically tells them off because they wanted to decommission and leave the Hammer of Dawn off, but obviously Anya decided that before the swarm popped up, so now they need it back. So they're having quite the argument, and then they get word that Settlement 2 is under attack. Now, Settlement 2 is the one that they referred to in Gears 4, that caused JD and Del to walk out of the cog. But they go, and it's crazy. There's just attacks going on all over the place. It's really quite intense, actually. It's really good fun. And we meet Faz as well, and he's a bit of a dick, quite frankly. Sort of likeable, I kind of like him. So they're walking along, and sorry, there's just fighting everywhere. There's this the swarm attacking left, right, centre. There's innocents dying. It's crazy. You meet a load of new bad guys. It's really good fun. It was really intense. And during all this fighting with it comes out that it wasn't Faz that opened fire on civilians. Well, it was Faz that opened fire on the civilians that caused the killing of all these innocents at their hands. But it was JD that gave the order. And this is this really takes Del back, and Del's like, what? And then they stop. They fall out, and they're trying to get on with the mission. And we meet Lizzie Carmine. And Clayton Carmine comes back, and he's still all buff and muscular and still got his helmet on, but I'm presuming he's old underneath there. Sounds the same, looks pretty much the same, slightly older neck. And Lizzie's a bit of a kick-ass as well. She's driving like a truck helping evacuate people. But there's so much swarm, it just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming and coming, that they get overwhelmed, and JD's, well, we've launched the Hammer of Dawn satellite, let's fire it off and see what happens. And everyone's like, no, this is a terrible idea. Just the worst. And then there's swarm arcs and just hordes and hordes of swarm. And they're like, we're going to have to use the hammer. And JD's, well, and Baird is like, I can't focus it. I need something to focus on because I can't steer it. And JD's like, use me. And then he runs at the bad guys, and Marcus is like, no! His gruff no. But it all seemingly works out. He runs through, ducks and dives, and gets to the other side, and the Hammer of Dawn comes down, and, wipes out the swarm, and, it's looking good. Then it all goes a bit mental, and the Hammer of Dawn misfires, and starts just randomly firing down, and it hits the truck that Lizzie's driving, and JD runs up to try and get Lizzie out, but she's in the car and it blows up, and JD's sent flying. It didn't really go the way they wanted, and it's spectacular to watch. Like, it looks amazing. And Act 1 ends there, and it's just like, whoa. Yeah, it was really intense up to that point. And Act 2 starts up, and you're now controlling Kate and with Del, and there's no sign and there's no mention of JD. So they talk about that, and they have Jack with them. They got a new Jack. He's been upgraded. He's really cool, Jack, in this now. He got all these gadgets you can use to zap and things like that. So Kate and Del go to an outsider village because there's still outsiders, because it's not Gears 1, 2 and 3 and Judgment you had the stranded, but now you have the outsiders who live outside settlements and don't like COG because of the massacre at Settlement 2. The COG just aren't very nice. Anyway, so Kate and Del go to the village, and it's in the Rift's worm skeleton from Gears 2. So that dirty great worm you kill in Gears 2 is now a settlement. They've just sort of built walls between its ribs and what have you. And Oscar's in charge. in charge, and Kate's there saying, look, you know, come and join the cog. We need more people in the cog. It's time for humanity. You know, well, you know, maybe we can fall out again later, but we've got a problem with this swarm. They are hellbent on killing us, and they're doing it. And Oscar's like, no. No. Just no. And then, obviously, the swarm attack. And again, it's really intense. I mean, the set pieces in this, it's, you know it's going to, because you'll walk into an area and there'll be a box of ammo and lots of waist-high things. And you're like, something's going to go down here. 9 times out of 10, yeah. But the way, even though you know it's coming and it's very Gears, it's so much fun. It's really, some of it's really intense. And I don't know if it was just the way I play or whatever. I'm not very good, by the way. I struggled to get through on intermediate. But towards the end of each firefight, I seem to be running out of ammo. So like the ammo lasts me to the end of the firefight, and you get that wonderful noise that signifies the fight's over. And it was just all, you know, really worked. I'm really into it. Anyway, the swarm are attacking the Riftworm base. And Kate starts getting these headaches and these visions, and it's all a bit, she's a bit confused by it. And then she has this vision that's a warden, which is this big honking great thing with these clubs, and kills Oscar. And she radios and he's still alive, so she's like, whatever. And then the fighting continues for a little bit, and then she has these flashes, and she can hear her mum and Queen Myrrah talking to her. And then through Kate, you control a locust, which I thought was really cool. It was like, oh, because we've not done this in the campaign before. So you could control the little juvies and running around, and then you could control a drone. And then you controlled I think you controlled a scion, and then you controlled a warden. And you controlled this warden, and you're walking towards Oscar, and the warden basically caves his head in, basically. And she's like, oh, and then she comes back and the firefight continues. And they're at the end of the fight. And she's like, you know, she wants to find Oscar, but it's confirmed that, you know, he's not in a good way. And they also mention that, sorry, JD does get a mention that he's changed, he's a bit moodier now, and he's been in a coma, because obviously he got blown up. And he turns up at the base to sort of help them at the end of the fight, but he's a bit of a dick about it. He's just like, you know, you shouldn't have left, whatever. She's like, I wanted to leave, I need answers, and, you know, they fight. And he's a bit sterner. It actually gives the character some edge, which he needed. You know, because he was very happy-go-lucky in 4, and he's sort of happy-go-lucky at the start of 5, but now he's stern. He's a lot more like his dad. But anyway, they run through, and they're like, you know, you can't see this, and there's the, you know, like in the trailer, and there's the cloth over the body, and he's sort of slopes at the head, and she's like, whoa. And Marcus says, well, there's this place we've been to that, you might want to go there, and you might get some answers, which is of course the New Hope facility from Gears 2, where intrigue really started to kick off about Locust. And there's, for years and years, how many years has Gears 2 been at since Gears 2 was released? Like 10 years or something. And you know, there's been so many theories about the Locust, and now we're going back there. It's like, ooh. The whole of Act 2 from this point is about getting to New Hope-ish. And they decide to leave the base, and it's it sort of goes into this sort of open world. And I remember I saw this thing that says Gears goes open world, and I remember thinking, open world and Gears, that's not a relationship I'm interested in. I like Gears because you go in, you have your level, and it's set. But it's sort of a mesh. It's really weird. So you've got this ginormous bloody grey area, and then there's bits you can go and do in this area. And some of it drives the story forward, and some of it gives you little perks for little side missions, like you can go and turn some water on or whatever. But anyway, they're off to New Hope, and they get to New Hope, and it's this really funny bit. They get to the door of New Hope, and she radios in. She's like, Marcus is like, look for the round door. And they get there, And Kate sort of messages, someone's blown up the round door, and Marcus is like, oh yeah, that was me. And so they have to find another way in, and you go around and you go to New Hope, and it tells you that actually, there's a little bit of information in New Hope that leads to Mount Kadar, and that there's another research lab in Mount Kadar that you didn't find in Gears 2. But they don't quite know where it is, and you have to go and find all these sort of radio towers. So you're on this skiff, and you go around in all the snow, and again, it's beautiful to look at, stunning visuals. And you're zipping around, and you find the 3 radio, because it's always rule of 3 in video games, and you triangulate this thing. So you go to Mount Kadar, and you find this new lab. And so all of Act 2 is finding this lab, because you know about it. So the whole of Act 2 is about going places, finding bits, lots of firefights, some really cool set pieces, and then you get to this lab in Mount Kadar. Every question is answered. I don't even know where to start. So the Locust. So Niall Sampson created the Locust because he was supposed to be finding a cure for rust lung. Rust lung is the sickness that people get from mining emulsion. But Niall Sampson is not a very nice man. And you just get a lot of hints that the cog were like, they put up with it to a degree. When he was sort of... it kept evolving what he was doing. And that's how he created the sires. And at some point he just started injecting like pure emulsion into people to see what happened, and then you get the sires. And then he found this girl, and this girl, he would inject it into, and nothing would happen to her. In fact, she would sort of help, it would enhance her. And then you're walking around this thing, and you go into this little room, and there's this little chalk drawing of this little girl holding a monster's hand, and it turns out this girl became Queen Myrrah, and she's got a telepathic link, so she can control the Locust. It's all so well presented. It's like, it's between cutscenes and sort of interactive going through and exploration. It all comes together, and there's this matriarch which was taken using stem cells from the girl, and splicing it into like the mutated sires, which creates the Locust. And then this dirty great berserker called the matriarch, and you're going through this lab just finding all these dirty secrets out, and the cog are really bad people, and they've just been hiding it since. And you're going through, and it's just like bombshell after bombshell. It's just like, oh my god, I'm just going through it, just like, this is amazing. And it comes to, and Niles is now like a little R2-D2 type robot. He's transferred all his consciousness into like an AI bot, so he's telling them all. And what happened was that the little girl obviously slowly grew up. She had really delayed aging as a result of all this experimentation. So her aging was really delayed, and she met Dr. Torres, or something like that, and they had a baby, which was Raina. And after a while, the father, he's like, what we're doing here isn't for the good of mankind. It's pretty nice. It's loopy, and there's notes and things like that you can pick up as the collectibles that are just like, ooh, this isn't good at all. And so he took Raina and pegged it, which I think would make a really fascinating. I want more around here. I want like, I don't know, DLC, or I just want a movie about it, because it's something really interesting here, because you just know there'd be an argument, and obviously the girl, the woman now loses her mind, becomes Queen Myrrah, and develops a hatred of mankind, because she can talk to the Locust and communicate with them, and then having her kid taken away pushes her over the edge mentally, and so she builds up the Locust forces, builds them up. Didn't expect the Lambent problem. I think that took her by surprise, but then just wages war on man. It's sort of hinted that even though she sort of made a pact with Adam Phoenix, I don't think she'd have gone through with that. I think she just wanted to kill all mankind because she wanted to find her daughter, which she didn't. And then Act 2 comes to an end when you have to fight the Berserker. Oh, this was a difficult fight. I died like so many times. So many times. Like I said, I am not very good at video games. I just enjoy them. And you know, it's an epic drag out fight. And you know, finally they kill the matriarch. Marcus comes and picks them up, and then you get that bit. It's like, you know, did you find what you're looking for? And she's like, yeah. But now we've got to kill it because because of all the visions and all that. It's a genetic sort of trait that goes through. So she has the telepathy, and she needed to get rid of it. So Niles put her in this machine, and that's what woke the matriarch up because it was in stasis. And that's what you have to kill it. And it rips Niles' little bot to pieces. And during all of this, she awakens the consciousness of the Queen, which is sort of represented by her mother. But we'll come to her. So yeah, so she gets in the chopper and off they go. So just go down my notes. Crazy. It's, you know, I can't express how good and how much I enjoyed it, even though I was stuck at that rotten Berserker fight. And Kate is like, we need the Hammer of Dawn, we need to wipe this out. They're not going to stop, they're going to wipe out humanity. So Act 3 kicks off, and Act 3 is about getting, because the Hammer of Dawn is up there, and it's sort of, there's not enough satellites to control it. So Act 3 is about getting more satellites up into space. So you go to Vazgar, which is the sort of the UIR sort of secret space program was located. It's really nice. Again, so you've gone from like the snow to the desert, and again you got your skiff, and you go to like the space control center, which is enormous. You go into this enormous factory, and it's a magnificent set piece. And walking around, looking around, and again, it's like you need to find the satellite, you need to find the rockets, and you need to find the Hammer of Dawn bits to shoot off into space, which is your components for your open world to go around and get. I'm not doing this no justice. What I'm doing is ruining it if you've not seen it, which I told you not to. So yeah, lots of secrets, but Baird helps them because Baird is in this quite a lot, and I quite like Baird. But basically, the majority of Act 3 is going around, getting the bits, and there's some amazing bits. So you go to find the rocket, and it's on this train, and you have to have it's enormous. It's beyond belief how big everything is. And you go there and you spin the train around, and then you've got to get to this bridge control before the train on your skiff. So you're sort of racing the train in your skiff to get to a bridge control to lower a bridge. And this amazingly beautiful bit where you're going through this desert, and there's like a storm, wind flares and storms, and as lightning strikes the ground, it melts the sand of the desert and creates like this sort of beautiful glass tree. Pops up all around you, and it's chaos. But the best kind. It's, you know, intense and fun chaos. And of course the swarm are trying to stop you and whatever. And finally, you get all the bits together again, several set pieces, and it's time to launch the rocket, and off it pops, and you're riding it. And there's several bits. I was sure that Faz was going to die. I'm like, yeah, this guy is numbered. He's going to be a dick to start with. He'll do something heroic. And then there's a bit when they're riding the rocket. Grabber comes and gets Del, and Faz sort of kicks it off, and it's like, oh, but he's hanging on the train, and the banter is great. You know, the fun banter continues between them all. But no, he survives, and they get to the launch, and the train sort of goes on its side to put the rocket in. And all the frame around it, like the launch pad, it's enormous. And as you're sort of just getting ready, and Jack accidentally triggers the launch sequence, and Paddock's there, and he's like, "You need to run," but then there's dirty great rift worm, or like it's like a baby rift worm, turns up and wraps itself around, and then that's sort of the fight to close Act 2. And it's great. You end up sort of underneath the rocket, and the rocket's firing down on the worm as you're running through this little corridor, and it was so enjoyable. So yeah, and the rocket takes off and spits its little things in. It's all beautiful, and you fly back, and Jin's there, and she's like, "Right, we want to put Kate back in the hive mind," and everyone's like, "No, that's a terrible idea. We're not doing that to an innocent person." And you know, Marcus is like, "It's not going to happen." And you know, some funny fit. There's an Onyx guard who gets walked into by each of them as they're storming off, and everyone's saying, "Jin, we don't trust you." But New Afira comes under attack, and then this attack lasts from the end of Act 3. So the whole sort of Act 4 is just this enormous attack, and basically the Cog trying to get their shit together to blow them up with the Hammer of Dawn. It is intense. I don't even know which bit to say. There's so many set pieces as you're putting. You have to get these beacons, and you put these beacons in 5 different areas, and the beacon will help triangulate where they can fire the Hammer of Dawn. But at every stage, something goes wrong, or there's something's not in place. It's absolutely insane as you're running through, trying to fight all of these. You're fighting all these swarm, who are they're sort of evolved Locust and everything, and so you're fighting them. You're trying to set. You get to actually use the Hammer of Dawn again. You set up one beacon, you use the Hammer of Dawn, and then you hear Cole's got his set up, and then you go and Paddock crashes, and so you have to go and help him. And bloody hell, that bit was intense. So you're setting up this beacon. You've got to help Paddock get the beacon and move it, set it up, and it all goes to the point. And then the new queen, which is sort of Rhaena, but mutated. She's sort of hivey. She's got like tentacles and things. She turns up. She grabs Kate, Del, and JD. And this bit floored me. So she's talking to Kate, saying, "You've ruined it. You could have had immortality and all that." And she's like, "Right, choose who you're gonna save." And so you pull your gun up, and I didn't really know what. I didn't realise that I was fully in control at this point. I just thought it was cutscene, but it's like, you know, pull the trigger. So I just pulled the trigger, and I saved Del, and he fell to the floor, and then basically she snapped JD's neck, dropped dead. You know, his cog tags fell off, they grabbed him, and then he fell into this big hole. And I was just like, I felt like it was my fault, which is amazingly, you know, the storytelling, the level, the intensity of it all. I felt like it was my fault. I was just floored by it, and you end up stuck. And they just sat there like, and I'm sat there like, and it just pauses for just a beautiful moment. Such an amazing told moment. And they're all, you know, Del's like pissed, and Kate's like, "What was that? You know, it's not my mum. It may have been her body, but JD's dead." And then so you have to go, and then you hear Marcus on the radio, but you're stuck. So Cole helps you, and then you need to get to Marcus, and then another big firefight. Oh my god, it was so hot. You know, he's like, "Wait, where's James?" And, you know, Kate gives him his cog tags. He's like, no. Oh, God, it was heartbreaking. If I'd have known what was happening, I'd have probably offed Del. Not because I like JD more than Del, but I'd have done it for Marcus, who deserves a happy ending. Come on, he's lost Anya. He lost his dad. He lost Dom. He lost his tomatoes. He can't lose his kid as well, so I'm probably going to replay the last level and save JD. It will be really interesting to see who they go forward in, because, you know, Gears, there's going to be a Gears 6, obviously. Who will be canon. You know, who will be officially dead and who will be officially alive. That will be really interesting to me, that. I'm really curious as to which way they go on that one. Because obviously one of them is now dead. And it was mind-blowing. Anyway, the Riftworm comes back. It starts eating all the beacons. Things just get insane. Everyone's sad, and again, amazing set pieces. And you finally come to the end of game boss, which is the Riftworm. And the fight, basically you're here and it's there and you're fighting it, just trying to survive. And Jack makes the ultimate sacrifice by using himself as a beacon, flying into its mouth, and it levels the city. Now, there was one thing that annoyed me here. You then get the shot of Kate with the fiery city in the background, which is in a trailer, which is actually one of the last scenes in the whole game. And I don't think anything after the second act should ever appear in a trailer. Ever. But yeah, they sort of, you know, oh, there's a bit where you think you're sure that Faz is dead. Cole, I was sure he was dead. Paddock, I was then pretty sure he was dead as well. I was just thought, there was a moment we're going through, I'm like, this game has gone mental with the bloodthirsty. Like, after the JD as Paddock and Cole, I was just like, what? It was mind-blowing. And yeah, we arrived to the end, and Marcus and Kate stood there. After it was like all the music was playing whilst, you know, the face shots, and then the descriptive text is like inaudible discussion. Probably unintended comedy. And it ends, and Marcus is like to Kate, she's going to come back, and she's like, not if we get her first, and it ends. The story is absolutely phenomenal. I loved every second. Gears 4, I didn't, you know. Gears 5, I'm already looking forward to playing again. I'm going to go through, I want to get the collectibles I've missed, because it answered so many questions and enhanced at the same time. If you're on the fence about getting Gears 5, buy it. It's amazingly good. I am going to be playing the multi. I've had a quick go on Escape, which was great. I don't really care much for the multiplayer, you know, because it's just roll and shotgun. But I'm going to be playing a bit more Escape and the co-op, and I'm really looking forward to all of that. I'll probably do another video about that. This has just been about the story. This is basically, oh my god, been a half-hour rambling of a mad person, because it's such a good game. The campaign really sort of solidifies that, you know, Gears is back, and 5 is it's Gears 2 to Gears 1, isn't it? Gears 1 was great, you know, with its shooting and its looks, and then Gears of War 2 came along, and like I said, it's probably one of my all-time favourite games. And this is what 5 is to 4. Just taken it all and ramped it up to 12. We've gone past 11 story-wise. That last half hour or so is emotionally draining. I was just like, oh, stunning it was. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to playing it again. Like I said, my friends haven't. Like, little Dave's going to come on, and Chris and John are all going to be like, oh, let's play it. And I'm like, can't, need to talk about it more. So if you want to talk about it, you know, I'll say don't go in the comments. We'll have spoiler talk in the comments if people are into it and want to talk about it in the comments. But I think that about wraps up this epic rant. Sorry it's been so long, but I just wanted to info dump what I thought. Basically, I bloody loved it. Gears is back on form.
Fingers on plastic.